Welcome back to Chilling Tales. Tonight's stories will guide you into rest and sleep. We bring you unheard UFO encounters and rare mysterious tales to stir your imagination and calm your mind. The Tinduf Desert Glider, 1999, Tinduf Province, Algeria. The desert was losing its light. A flat orange sun slipped behind the low hills of Algeria's Tinduf Province, casting the UN convoy in long, sharp shadows. 5 vehicles crawled in single file across the gravel wash, their engines humming steadily under a fading sky. Dust clung to the tires and curled into the air like smoke. The Saharan dusk was serene, but not still. Every aid worker knew that the Western Sahara was always on edge. Conflict between Morocco and the Polisario front smoldered across the region like a buried fire. In the lead truck, Dr. Marie Buchard, a veteran medical officer with the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, checked her clipboard, then adjusted the radio dial. Static buzzed. She tapped her headset. Convoy check. Unit 5, come in. No reply. She tried again, but only a burst of white noise came through. That wasn't normal. Their communications had been steady for the past 80 kilometers. She glanced in the rear-view mirror, trying to spot the final vehicle in the trail, but dust obscured everything behind her. That's when she saw the shadow. It wasn't moving like a cloud or a helicopter. It wasn't moving like anything she'd ever seen before. It was gliding slowly, deliberately across the sky, blocking out the deepening twilight with impossible precision. A perfect black triangle, broader than the entire convoy, passed overhead without a sound. The radio went dead. The trucks rolled to a stop. The desert held its breath. The mission had begun as standard protocol. In early March of 1999, a United Nations relief convoy was deployed from Tinduf to deliver supplies to remote Sahrawi refugee camps scattered across western Algeria. The team consisted of 16 personnel. Aid workers, drivers, 2 Algerian military escorts, and a technical officer operating the satellite uplink equipment used to keep contact with UN Regional Command in Ailers. They departed their forward base late in the afternoon, intending to reach the last checkpoint by nightfall. With clear skies, GPS guidance, and 5 well-equipped Toyota Land Cruisers, it should have been a textbook trip. But around 6:40 p.m., as the sun dipped beneath the jagged horizon, strange anomalies began to occur. First came the static over the radios. Not uncommon in desert regions, magnetic disturbances, dry atmospheric pressure, but usually fleeting. This time the interference deepened. The satellite phone in the command vehicle failed to connect. Internal vehicle comms sputtered out. The GPS units recalibrated 3 times in 5 minutes. Then the air changed. That's how Don Verhoeven, a Dutch logistics officer in the 3rd vehicle, described it later. Like the pressure shifted, the hairs on your arms stand up, but not from cold. Like something is watching you through the windshield. The first time someone looked up, they assumed it was a low cloud. But the shape had edges, sharp ones. The object descended with no noise, no whir, no thrust, no mechanical movement, just a mass gliding in complete silence. Witnesses would later describe it as a black triangle, a solid shadow, or like the night sky, detached and slid sideways. It moved above the convoy at an estimated height of 300 m. The dimensions that was harder to gauge. Verhoeven estimated the span at 100 meters. Others said more. Whatever it was, it blocked the sky above them completely and it kept moving. The convoy halted. Buchard exited her vehicle, followed by drivers and support staff. All 5 trucks were dead still, as though stunned by the same invisible presence. The triangle coasted overhead, slowly rotating as it shifted southeast. It cast a defined shadow on the ground, an impossibly symmetrical patch of darkness that moved in sync with the object above. Everyone watched in silence. There was no engine noise, no sonic boom, not even the low-pitched hum typical of high-flying aircraft. Just silence, thick and deliberate, as though nature itself had paused to allow its passage. Then the systems died. The dashboard lights flickered out. Radios went silent. One of the vehicles, Unit 5, sputtered, then shut off entirely. Its battery was later found to be fully charged, but the starter refused to engage. Field Medic Diaz later wrote in a private statement, "I felt weight in my chest. No pain, just pressure. It was like a vacuum, like something around us had removed the noise from the air and replaced it with a presence. The way animals freeze when something's watching them." As the craft passed, shadows began to retract. The convoy, still dead in the sand, remained paralyzed. No one moved. Some crouched by their tires. Others stood motionless beside the vehicles. Not out of fear, but out of something deeper. Awe. And then, as smoothly as it had arrived, the object drifted out of sight. It did not accelerate. It did not vanish. It simply moved until the shape blended back into the horizon and disappeared. Roughly 10 minutes after the object had passed, the systems returned. One by one, dashboard lights blinked back on. Radios rebooted with sudden static. The GPS units recalibrated. Unit 5 restarted without intervention. No one said anything for the next 20 minutes. When they arrived at the checkpoint just after 7:30 p.m., the Algerian liaison officer asked why they were late. No one answered at first. Then one of the drivers simply said, "We stopped for a while." They didn't report it, at least not formally. Field guidelines were ambiguous about unexplained aerial encounters, and filing such a report could raise questions that none of them could answer. Their top priority remained security and humanitarian delivery. But within 48 hours, several team members had independently documented their experience. Dr. Butchett wrote a detailed personal account in her journal, later discovered among her private effects. Verhoeven's account, written as a PDF field log, was copied and circulated informally among aid workers in the region. Even when Diaz recorded an audio memo on a mini-tape recorder the night of the encounter simply titled Desert March 99. What unified all their testimonies was not just the object's silence, but the conviction that it was observing them. "It passed over us like a manta ray," Pshar wrote, "wide and smooth, indifferent to the fact we were beneath it. But it wasn't aimless. It had intent." The technical logs provided the only tangible anomalies. After the mission was completed, convoy maintenance teams reviewed onboard vehicle data as part of standard protocol. 3 trucks showed identical readings. Each had recorded an engine-off duration of approximately 16 minutes at the same time. Yet all eyewitnesses claimed the sighting lasted no more than 5 minutes. That discrepancy, 11 minutes of vehicle silence unaccounted for, raised quiet alarm. Nothing else in the log showed power drain or system faults. The batteries were fine. The electronics were functional. It was as if the time had passed in a pocket of lost continuity. The GPS units also showed positional jumps inconsistent with the route. One vehicle had logged itself as stationary 400 m north of where it had physically stopped. Another had briefly gone dark with no coordinates, only to reappear on the system seconds later. These irregularities were never formally investigated. Word of the sighting filtered slowly into the wider UN network. A few regional directors heard whispers of the triangle and the glider, but no inquiry followed. In 2000, a Belgian non-profit known as World Eyes on Peace released a restricted report on unusual atmospheric and aerial events during field deployments. Tinduf was listed as a case study with heavy redactions. Verhoeven's journal entries were quoted anonymously. Satellite data was requested but never provided. Then came the leaked email. In 2012, a whistleblower from the UNHCR shared a confidential exchange between 2 mission coordinators referencing the glider event in Zone E. One line read, "If it returns, it must not coincide with civilian drop points." Not again. And there was the pilot. A private aircraft flying through the Casablanca FIR flight information region on the evening of March 22, 1999 reported a near miss with a dark mass over southwestern Algeria. The report filed with Moroccan civil aviation authorities noted that the object had no transponder, no collision lights, and had not been seen on radar. The pilot estimated its size as larger than any plane I've ever seen. His report was archived. No follow-up was documented. What was the triangle? Theories split between advanced military stealth and non-human intelligence. Some believed it was a next-generation surveillance platform, perhaps American, perhaps Russian, operating in disputed territory. Yet its movement was too quiet, too precise. It produced no heat signature, made no sound, and disrupted electronics at close range without triggering electromagnetic alarms. Others proposed a more exotic origin. The Black Triangle phenomenon had been reported in Belgium, the Hudson Valley, and parts of Brazil. But none of those had involved such clear electromagnetic disruption, or such a slow, deliberate passage. And why would it appear above a UN convoy, non-combatants in a humanitarian mission? That question disturbed Bushaar the most. We weren't a threat, she wrote. We weren't even important. Yet, it flew over us with the quiet confidence of something that knew exactly what it was doing and exactly where we were. The Tinduf Desert Glider remains unconfirmed, unacknowledged, and unresolved. No government has claimed knowledge or ownership. No official files have been released. But the people who saw it still remember. In quiet conversations, scattered journal pages, and dusty backup drives stored in desk drawers, their experience lives on. A black triangle, silent, vast, watching, and gone without a trace.